watching. Hi! Sorry if you're having a cringe attack from me stealing Tyler Oakley's catchphrases, but trust me, it's relevant because for the past month, my family and I were there. So that's my excuse for not having any YouTube videos for an entire month. Soz about that. However, you'd be pleased to know now that I'm back in Australia, so I can finally make a Christmas video a month late. So you know Christmas, right? The festive day for family, for friends, gifts, cards, mince pies, Christmas jumpers, fairy lights and snow. Well, I had none of that. Just kidding. I had snow. Well, if you're not following me on social media such as Twitter or Instagram, which in case follow me, or simply weren't listening to me 5 seconds ago, in which case, rude, you wouldn't have known that I and my family were in China about a month ago today, which was fine, albeit it's a bit whiffy, that place. A week before Christmas, however, something happened that would ruin Christmas for me forevermore. Probably. Now, I'm usually not one to put blame on anyone, but this time it was entirely Dad's fault. Yeah, hope you're not watching. You don't watch my videos, do you? So about a week before Christmas, he told me one day that we were going to the mountains to take some pictures of snowy mountains. Yeah, that's all he told me. We take pictures all the time together, so I really didn't think much of it. It sounded great, I thought. Even when I found out that we'd be spending Christmas there, I was still quite pleased because I imagined luscious green hills, a bright blue sky, wispy white clouds. Well, basically the Windows XP wallpaper, but with some snow. The terrible train journey there, however, would set the mood to come. My parents had told me there would be a comfortable 10-hour ride with PowerPoints for your phone, food, plenty of sweets. There were no sweets, but that wasn't the biggest problem. We didn't have any data or anything downloaded on our phones, so Davis and I had planned to plug in our laptop and play Civilization 5, which is a really nerdy strategy game that we like to play. And we could have 10 hours of endless frivolity and fun and games, and all would be dandy. However, it was not to be. It turned out that only first class passengers had access to PowerPoints, and being poor, we had scum class. Well, not actually scum class, just second class. So basically, now for 9.5 hours, we'd have nothing to distract us from the smells and sights that surrounded us. Yippee. Except they weren't lovely. The person in front of us, for instance, was eating boiled egg, which, if you don't know, has the smell of freshly produced manure. The dude behind us was watching the most melodramatic Chinese soap opera on his phone without headphones at full volume. So basically I was just sitting there in my very bad mood with no entertainment, listening to this Chinese girl moan for hours on end. That sounds a bit wrong, but shh. So honestly, I just wanted to impress death upon the dude behind me, or even worse, watch his mobile phone run out of power. That was unlikely, however, because to my absolute horror, he had the world's biggest battery charger I'd ever seen. It was honestly like a suitcase that was a battery. Almost. Not really. So with nothing to distract me from the world around me that I despise so much, I looked and searched through the innermost depths of my phone, desperately pleading that I had downloaded something sometime that would entertain me for 9 hours. What I found was a book called Catcher in the Rye. So if you're in school and reading a book that you don't particularly like, imagine a few years from now you go back and remember, I remember a book that I never finished in year 10 English. I must finish it now. Well, basically that's what I thought. So after many hours of reading that book, smelling the fresh eggy air inside the train's cabin. I couldn't wait to burst outside and smell the fresh, smoggy Chinese air. However, it was not to be, because as it turns out, my parents had lied to me as if I was a 6-year-old, asking, "Are we there yet?" Because it turned out that the journey wasn't 10 hours long, it was 15 hours long. However, like 17 hours after we'd set off that morning, we'd finally arrived in a nice big fancy hotel in some Chinese city I forgot the name of, and all was well. And even better, my parents said that the hotel we'd be going to tomorrow would be even nicer. Oh, how wrong they were. So after another entire day enclosed in a form of transportation, this time a crummy old Volkswagen car, we were met not with a fancy glass hotel house thing like the one in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo in the snow. Shut up. But instead, something far more humble. We were met with literally a small collection of huts on top of a snowy mountain. That's it. It's literally like an Arctic campsite for hardcore explorers that you read from history books from 100 years ago. So basically I turned up to a Arctic expedition with summer boots and a llama hat. Thanks Dad for not warning me. Oh no. I'd literally never been so far from home, stranded on top of a freezing cold mountain, wearing 4 pairs of socks, disguised as a llama, without any phone reception, yet alone Wi-Fi. I was honestly thinking, how could my life get any worse, when I realised that I needed a pee. Now I've read about medieval toilets in Year 7 history. However, I never actually thought that I would use one, and yet alone in the coldest, most windswept, flimsy room at minus 15 degrees. It was so cold, in fact, I was literally terrified that it could drop off any second. It didn't, by the way. I should have said that earlier in case you were worried about my... And to make it worse, it was the Asian version of a medieval toilet, so you had to like squat and pray that your thighs would give in so you'd fall into the pile of human excrement below you. It wasn't a good time. Well, at least all of this pain and suffering will be worth it because of the photos, right? No. Firstly, Davis and I both looked terrible, without ski jackets and desperate for warmth. Davis was literally wearing like 5 hoodies on top of one another, and if you're wondering, that's not flattering. In fact, he looked like this. And also, I can't tell you how unspeakably cold my fingers were. Now, I usually have like really cold hands, like even... Okay, they're warm now, but usually I have, because it's the middle of summer here, but usually I've got like really cold hands. And at minus 15 degrees, without any gloves, oh my god, they were literally black. That's probably racist. Well, actually, I'm also lying because we indeed had one glove to share among us, and it was very holy, as in holy. It didn't work very well, and also it was in the most disgusting mustard yellow colour, that mitten. Literally, I could only last like 10 seconds. Not in that way, but my fingers could literally only last 10 seconds exposed to the extreme weather. And if you're wondering, that's not enough time to take a photograph, yet alone let Davis somehow pose in a somewhat attractive way. And trust me, trying to fiddle with metal frozen knobs when your fingers are also frozen, that was probably the most painful thing I'd ever done. And obviously I've suffered through lots of pain and trauma in my short life. But honestly, it was like a miracle I even got like a single photo for Instagram. That photo does have quite a few likes, so maybe it was worth it. And then came the night, and there's no point denying it, I slept with my brother. Not in that way, we just shared a bed, okay? And let me tell you, if you're considering it, Davis is such an annoying person to share a bed with. He literally spent hours and hours trying to massage his toes, which is, to be honest, a disgusting habit. Although his toes were like purple, so maybe he should be excused. So we were in the middle of like a snowstorm, well it sounded like one, inside a little hut with walls as thin as cardboard, with wet boots under our doonas because they would freeze otherwise. The cold was like barely bearable. We were like shaking so much even though we were cuddling each other underneath an electric blanket, when they decided to turn the generator off, so the electric blanket went off too. And oh my god, it was cold, and to make it even worse, there was no hope for any more warmth because the blanket was now off. It like got colder after every single minute. It was so cold that Davis actually cried, which is unusual for him because it's usually me doing that because I have existential crises all the time, if you're wondering. Stop being nosy, stop asking, okay? So that was my Christmas Eve. So bad. So next morning, me mum and me dad. So next morning, my mum and Davis decided that we finally had enough and that we would and decided to leave our dad stranded on the top of the mountain, and we decided to go down. This didn't go well with Dad. He told us that, oh, we were so stupid and childish to bring inappropriate clothing, and oh, you're a man, you have to suffer because holidays are all about suffering. And I was like, no. So me and Davis spent the rest of the day in a peasanty Chinese village where we watched peasants do peasanty stuff. Literally, I'm not being mean, they're literally called peasants according to stuff. Meanwhile, totally forgetting that it was Christmas. So that was a bit shite. So guys, to make me feel even worse, tell me in the comments what you did for Christmas. That's if you can cast a mind far back enough. And you can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and if you want another Christmas video for some reason, I did one with my friend Natasha, who's like a big YouTuber. Yeah, how on earth did I manage to get a collab with her? Maybe we went to the same school. Okay, so if you want to see that video, there's an annotation here. And until next week, hopefully, goodbye! Toodaloo.